Good afternoon. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Our QCDR webinar is titled 2016 PQRS Submission Deadline Approaching Quickly, Using the Physician Portal. My name is Alicia Blakey. I will be hosting today's webinar. For anyone that has questions while I am speaking, everyone is in listen-only mode, but we do invite you to submit your questions via the chat or Q&A feature on the right-hand side of your screen. We will have a question and answer session following today's presentation. As a reminder, all QCDR webinars are recorded and our presentation slides will be available following today's webinar. Just one point of notice, today's presentation will only focus on the 2016 PQRS submission deadlines related to the QCDR. We will not be covering the 2017 quality payment program requirements. I've got a few emails about that. We will have a webinar series pertaining just to those topics in future months. What we will cover today is the 2016 PQRS reporting requirements, our timeline for CMS submission. All of you are signed up with our registry so that we can submit your quality data to CMS on your behalf. And so we do have some timelines that are specific to your participation. We're also going to look at our QCDR measures and data submission mechanisms. This will be a reminder. We won't spend a lot of great detail, but for anyone who is still trying to find additional measures, you'll know where to look. We'll spend some time looking at the PQRS physician portal because that's actually the place where you view all of your measure information and also your performance and reporting rates. So that's a key part of your active engagement in this process. And then we'll look at tips and resources for successful submission of measures to QCDR. Just as a reminder, when I use QCDR, sometimes people still ask me what that means. So we are a qualified clinical data registry approved by CMS for the 2016 reporting year. We do have an entire website dedicated to what it means to be a QCDR, our available measures, as well as templates, user guides, checklists, etc. So do please make note of our website. This is outside of the NRDR or the physician portal. So please do bookmark this, and we'll move right along. We are approved just for the 2016 reporting year. We are pending approval for 2017 to be a QCDR. So we're expecting to hear about that information in a few months. Just as a reminder, ASCR does have a number of data registries or databases that can be used for PQRS reporting. They are here on this slide referenced for you. If you're participating in any of these registries, that means that there are measures that can be used for PQRS reporting. So let's jump straight into the PQRS reporting requirements. They are slightly different if in the past you've done claims reporting, or if this is your first year participating as a G-Pro, then our reporting requirements are slightly different. So as a reminder, I get this question often. Our QCDR is required by CMS to collect all payer data. That means we do expect our sites to document that they've done quality measures on Medicare and non-Medicare patients. The cardinal rule, we've broken it down between if you're doing individual reporting or if you are signed up with CMS to be a G-Pro. Everyone should be aware of if they are reporting as a group by now, because that deadline was June 30th where you had to register with CMS. And essentially, regardless of individual or group reporting, you're trying to achieve 9 quality measures across 3 NQS domains. And of those measures, at least 2 of them must be an outcome measure. If you do not have an outcome measure, there are additional measures that can be reported. And the effort that you're spending your time and resources investing in the QCDR is to avoid a negative payment adjustment to your 2018 Part B services. You can avoid a negative 2% for PQRS and a negative 4% for the value modifier. Starting in 2017, these programs will be sunsetted and will be coined as the quality payment program. But for today's purposes, your goal is 9 measures, 3 domains, 2 outcomes. for at least 50% of all patients seen. So that's, if you're doing individual reporting, that's per provider, or if you're doing group reporting, it's 50% for the group. And if we come down to the finish line and you realize you do not have 9 measures or 3 domains, we would recommend that you use a different reporting mechanism for 2016. We want our participants and our docs to be successful. Okay. So the QCDR timeline is something that we post on our website as well as in our QCDR participation checklist. We also communicate these dates through email communication as well. January 31st is our next deadline. Few weeks. We are asking that you give us all of your quality data be submitted to the QCDR. So if you're participating in one of our DR registries, you got to give us that data by January 31st. And also, if you have PQRS measures, you have to give us that information by January 31st. The earlier you can give us data, the more data and often the better, because that's going to help us meet our March 31st CMS submission deadline. Just focusing, I want to focus in because January 31st is kind of when we need your data, but then there's a few things that need to happen between January 31st and February 19th. We are asking that facility administrators and your physicians, you must review your 2016 performance rates on all of your QCDR measures. And if you are finding any discrepancies in exam counts, we're asking that you modify or give us additional data within this time frame. You are required to select measures, to select your final measures that you would like to be submitted to CMS. This is not an automatic process. You do need to let us know which measures you want to count towards the 9-measure 3-domain requirement. And then lastly, you must confirm all measure selections and attest that ACR will submit your measures to CMS. February 19th is when everyone should be reviewing and attesting to accuracy of data submitted for 2016. I'm clarifying this and spend a little bit of time on this because a lot of people think they need to select their measures by January 31st. That is not accurate. You do have until mid-February to do that. The last 2 dates that are very important is related to our PQRS reporting fee. We're asking that you pay all fees by March 1st of 2017. The fees are there for you to see. For ACR members, it is $199 per physician per year. And then for any non-ACR members, the rate is higher, $499 per physician. These fees are in addition to your NRDR participation fees, so please be mindful of this. Most of you have already paid those invoices, and we appreciate that. Lastly, March 31st, 2017 is our submission deadline to CMS. Please do not think that you have until March 31st to give us data. I know that's been a common question over the last few weeks. We will actually start submitting your quality data to CMS at least 2 weeks prior to March 31st. March 31st is like the final cutoff, so we will not be submitting everyone's exams in one go-around. So hopefully if most of you on this webinar, I looked at the registration list, most of you have participated in previous webinars, so these first few slides are just some basic background information, and so we can just move right along. Let's look at the high-level QCDR process because it's important that you realize that our relationship is a year-long process and it's meant for us to work with each other throughout the year and not just at the end of the submission deadline. So the first thing you have to do is a 4-step process, view the measures, view our different registries. Then once you're actually in those registries, you have an account, you do need to let us know which physician should be participating in PQRS that reads for your facility. And then step 3 is giving us your group's tax ID number. CMS uses the tax ID number for group reporting as well as individual reporting, so it's very important that we have your active and current TIN number. And essentially this is required for PQRS. So if your account does not have 10 information, you will not have any measures. And then lastly, start submitting your, the last step is to actually start submitting measure data to our registries for PQRS. We do have 2 sets of measures. The QCDR supports 2 types of measures. We have the traditional PQRS measures that have always been in the program, and then we have a list of non-PQRS measures that come. Basically, these non-PQRS measures are chosen from across our NRDR registries. So data submission for each of these are different. And as a reminder, we want you to select enough measures to meet the PQRS reporting requirements. That's the 9 measures, 3 domains for 50% of all your patients seen for the year. Next, we're going to look at the QCDR. We talked about the measures. Now we got to talk about actually giving data to us. We collect data differently for PQRS measures and non-PQRS measures. So I'm not going to. So this slide is just to explain how we collect our data. It can be a manual process. It can be an automated process if you're participating in the Dose Index Registry. And lastly, if you're working with any vendors, Nuance and MagView are approved to help radiology clients submit data directly to our NRDR database. So that's just a gentle reminder that there are different ways that we collect data, and please be mindful of which registries you're participating in so that you're adhering to that information. When we looked at the high-level QCDR process, the first step was looking at the measures in the registries. The second step is really looking at collecting your physician's information. So the tab that we do collect that information is called Manage Physicians. I've just put together a few bullets to help people understand why we collect that information and what we do with it. So all of your physicians must be enrolled in PQRS if you plan to submit PQRS measures to CMS. These are just gentle reminders. I've helped 3 sites today who thought they were participating in PQRS and they actually were not. Their account was not registered properly. So let's try to avoid that. We did have a deadline of end of October for you to enroll all your physicians in PQRS. Next, physicians must be added to all facilities. That's your master and your child sites where possible. Once your physicians are enrolled in our system, they are given login credentials so that they can have a username and password so that they can actually access our resources. And then next, all physicians must register to use the physician portal in order to upload any data files or view available measures. So it's very important that I understand the physicians are very busy, but we are mandated by CMS because the physicians are the ones being held accountable for all this data that we're going to submit to CMS. And then lastly, if there's any problems with your physician list or you have them on the master and they're not on the child sites, we do have an Excel template that you can download and upload to your accounts very seamlessly. And if you're having any errors or having trouble, we do have a team of staff here that can help you with that. This is just a screenshot of what the Manage Physicians tab looks like. We collect basic information about your physician. We ask you to enroll them in PQRS. It's a yes or no. Do be aware if no is selected, that means that you are not participating in our QCDR. We will not submit any data for your physicians to CMS. The next key feature, so we looked at the measures, we looked at the registries, we looked at adding your physicians. It's very important to add them to all of your accounts. And then next is the Managed Physician Group 10. Your tax ID information is what we use to assign measures to your physician. So you're giving us a lot of data, and we're going to translate that data into actual measures that are reportable to CMS. We ask that everyone provide their tax ID information under the tab Managed Physician Group 10. The next bullet is very important. We do have, when you add your 10, there is a start and end date that we ask you to complete. That start date is not referring to when you made changes to the system or when you enrolled in the QCDR. That start date is when did the 10 become active. It could be dated back as far as 1997. Please make sure you estimate when that start date is for when your 10 became active and not when you actually started enrolling in our QCDR process. And then just as a caveat, I help people all day with the 10 numbers. If you are not required to provide an expiration date, if you do provide an expiration date, just as an example, if you put my 10 expires, 10/27/2016, any exams after that will not be accounted for in our system, and you won't see great reports or feedback or anything pertaining to those exams. So please make sure that your 10 is accurate, active, and updated with the right start and end dates. Lastly, CMS does require that we validate or check that your 10 number is current, so we do ask you to upload documentation. It could be a tax document or a claim stating that that 10 is assigned to your facility or your group. Part of the Managed Physician 10 page, some important tips is that here is the place where you indicate if you are a G-Pro or not. There is a checkbox that we'll look at it on the next slide, but please let us know if you're a G-Pro because your reporting requirements are slightly different if you are not a G-Pro. We want to make sure we give you a good analysis of everything that you submitted to our registry. Lastly, please select the appropriate registries and locations where that 10 should be applied. And lastly, if you have more than one tax ID number, please do give us all of them. We have a feature to collect all that information, and CMS will analyze your physicians for each 10 independent of the other if they bill for multiple tax ID numbers. One of the benefits of using the registry is we streamline all that information for you in one account. This is an example of what the Managed Physician Group 10 page looks like. Essentially, you add your number, you select which facilities. If you have multiple facilities, you'll be able to check them all at one time if you need to. And then whichever registries, let us know which ones you're participating in. Please do not select all of them if you are not participating in every registry. And I use this screenshot as an example because I harped a lot on the start and end dates. For this particular example, all of these 10s are set to expire 2014 and 2013 and 2015. If you were indicating that you wanted to use PQRS reporting for 2016, none of your exams or measures would appear for your physicians, and so that would be a problem. We do not want to expire any 10s if you are still billing Medicare Part B services for those for that. Next, I think it's important to transition. So we talked about you're going to be giving us data to the various registries. And so the number one question is, how are measures attributed to my physicians? We use two magic numbers that we pull from the Managed Physicians tab as well as your tax ID information. And that's going to help us assign any PQRS or non-PQRS measures to your physicians. If you do not have a 10 or MPI on your account, or there's, the 10 number is inaccurate, or for some reason you don't have it, you will not be able to view any measures for your physicians. And the place where you view all measures will be the physician portal. Now, I look at this information day in and day out, and I realize that my terminology of physician portal, sometimes people have no idea what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly some information about what the purpose of the portal is and how to navigate it. So essentially the main purpose of the portal is so that you can view all of your QCDR measures. Essentially, you get there by logging into nrdr.acr.org with your particular credentials. You click on PQRS measure participation, and then you will click on data collection and reports. It actually takes longer me explaining than actually you navigating it. It's a lot simpler than that. When you get to the portal, there are 3 main tabs: upload data, performance report, and CMS submission. Those are the main tabs that you're going to navigate on the portal so that you can view your measures, view your performance and reporting rates, and also select your measures for CMS submission. I do want to call out that there are file size limitations. We've been assisting quite a few of you with uploading your files. Your files have been rejected for a number of reasons. I do want to call out that there are file size limitations. Currently, you can submit PQRS measures using an Excel file or a text file. If you are using an Excel file, we ask that you limit the number of rows in your file to 20,000. I had someone yesterday that had 80,000 records and the file was rejected, and of course they called me to figure out why, and it's because the file size was too large. If you could break up your large files into multiple files, just name them accordingly, then our system can accept it a little bit better. And then secondly, if you are using a text file, we ask that you have less than 44,000 records in order for your file to be uploaded successfully. And then lastly, so please make note, everyone should be writing down these file limitations. If your file is rejected and it's very large, please do try to split up that file so that it can be accepted. And then lastly, coming soon, we are going to be making some enhancements to the portal where QCDR participants will be able to view measure data for all physicians across your entire group. I say coming soon. I can say on the record that that will possibly be next week. But we'll discuss that a little bit later in today's presentation. This is just a quick shot of how to actually get to the portal. You're going to click on data collection and reports. You see that right there. And then when you log in, this is your portal. You're going to see a home screen, upload data, CMS submission, and performance tab, just as I just explained. This screenshot is only showing the upload data tab. So for my next slide, I did want to spend some time because we do collect your PQRS measures in this portal. For any PQRS measures, you need to submit specific templates that have been provided to you by ACR. We have a specifications file as well as a template to help you populate your file correctly with the correct codes. I do want to call out, you only can upload these files to the physician portal. I've been asked, is there a way to submit these files outside of the portal, and currently there is not. So please be aware that you do need to log into the physician portal to upload these files. And then just one point of clarification, if you are participating as a group under the group practice reporting option, you do use the same templates. These templates will allow you to upload multiple physicians at one time. So that means you only need one file with multiple physicians, multiple TINs, and multiple measures. We do ask that you give us more than one file so that you don't exceed file size limits. A little bit more about the PQRS measures. These are some of the data elements that are required. We do need information on the patient, information on your physician. We need to know which physician has measures pertaining to that patient. And then we need information on the actual measure. What measure number is it? What CPT code, denominator codes, or numerator codes you actually want to bill Medicare for. And we do have a helpful resource, which is an Excel spreadsheet that will give you all of the current codes for 2016 reporting year. We make this is sort of your cheat sheet. I think most people on this call should have seen this resource by now. And probably have been using it to upload your PQRS data files to our portal, but if you have not, this is an example of how the files should be formatted and what the appropriate codes are for performance met and not met. We give you the CPT codes, numerator codes, and any diagnosis codes. One point of clarification on CPT codes: if you have multiple CPT codes for the same patient, please separate that CPT code as a separate record. So CPT code 77152 should be on a different line than 77513. Please do not separate CPT codes by a comma because your file will be rejected. Lastly, this one point of reference on kind of the PQRS measures and the files that we expect you to upload to our system. This just gives you an example of what that Excel file looks like with actual values. For today's training purposes, you know, we need the exam information, we need your physician's tax ID information, their NPI, information about the patient, especially whether or not they're Medicare or not. And then what measure is it? For this example, this is measure 362, and then any CPT codes that are related to that measure, as well as the numerator response. All of these codes can be found in this helpful cheat sheet for you. Sorry, I tabbed a little bit too soon. Just one point of reference, we do collect Excel files or text files. So whichever file format is easier for you, please do upload it. We do recommend that you upload the file more than once. Try to test it out. Please do not wait to January 31st to start uploading all your files. It will cause the system to move very slowly, and we don't want you to panic if there are records that are rejected. Our portal system actually will validate this information that's in the Excel file. We'll match it against your account, and then if any coding is off, or the physician or the physician's TIN or NPI information is inaccurate, the certain records of the file will be rejected, and you'll need to fix those rejected files or fields and upload that file again. So please keep that in mind. A little bit more about the physician portal. All physicians must register to use the portal in order for the facility administrator or any other user type to upload data files for that physician, and also to view available measures. Remember, that's the whole point of the portal, so that you can see all your non-PQRS measures and PQRS measures in one file. I'm going to jump down to the third bullet. PQRS data file status is updated 24 hours after you upload to the system. So please do not call ACR until the file status has changed from pending to successful or rejected, and then we can try to troubleshoot any errors with you. It does take 24 hours. As soon as you upload it, it needs time to process and validate the information. Lastly, or not lastly, but next, non-PQRS measures. Those are our registry-based measures. You saw from the beginning we have 5 different registries. Non-PQRS measures start with the letters AC-RAD, so AC-RAD 1 through AC-RAD 24. We attribute those measures to physicians based on the NPI and TIN numbers that you provide in our NRDR system under Managed Physicians and Managed Group 10. So that's why I start all the way from the beginning, even though it's a refresher for a lot of you. That NPI and TIN is what we need so that you can see your measures. And if you don't, then we can help you troubleshoot. And then lastly, as I mentioned prior, we are looking to enhance our performance report tab to help individual and group reporting of measures for CMS submission. For anyone who has never logged into the PQRS portal, I don't want to assume that everyone has navigated this site. Currently, you are able to click on the Performance Report tab. You will need to select a physician as well as the reporting year, and then select View Report. When you do that, any measures that have been assigned to your physician will appear. So this doctor specifically has reported a few PQRS measures as well as registry-based measures. Remember I said ACRAD is in front of all the non-PQRS measures. All of your measures should appear here. So the worst case scenario is that you type in your doctor's name, you select the reporting year, and nothing appears. If nothing appears, then we need to troubleshoot, especially if you think you've been submitting data to us throughout the year. This performance tab is helpful because it's a live view of your physician's information in one central location. On this report, you're going to see things like reporting rates, performance rates, any exclusions, as well as kind of your exams, right? You need to verify how many exams are actually there. So currently we do understand for the groups, for the G-Pros who have signed up to use our QCDR, it's very hard for you to search each individual physician. Not to be worried, coming soon, I will also say by next week. This is what we're planning to roll out so that you will be able to see, in addition to for each physician, G-Pros or non-G-Pro facilities or groups will be able to see your group's aggregate numbers as well as each physician and kind of what they contribute to your overall group. This will be broken out by measures, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just be aware that this is coming next week sometime so that it'll make it a lot easier for the G-Pros to see and select what measures they want CMS to be using for their PQRS reporting. And then I just want to make sure I'm watching time so I leave enough time for question and answers. I'm not going to read this for you, but the main measure calculations that you're going to see in your performance report are the reporting rate and the performance rate. We are going to ask that you tell us verify that your number of exams that you submitted to our registries is accurate and at least meets the 50% threshold, which we discussed earlier. You have to report on at least 50% of all your patients seen for the year. And then lastly, how we calculate the performance rate. I have a special note here because I get a lot of questions about the dose index registry and our grid registry. These measures, ACRAD 9 through ACRAD 20, in the performance report, you will not see a performance rate. This is a note that these measures are calculated slightly different. They are not a proportion measure, so you won't have an actual rate, but your numerator would be your number of cases. Let me just read the slide, sorry. The performance denominator for DIR measures is number of cases, excluding any outliers, and a numerator is the mean dose value, that's SSDE or DLP. And similarly for grid measures, the denominator is the number of cases, and the numerator is the mean turnaround time in hours. So that is the reason why on the performance report you are not seeing a performance rate for those measures. More details, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this in today's webinar, but if you have any information on how we calculate measures, if you need more information, please reference our portal user guide, section 3.6 performance report, and it has the terminology for how we calculate all of your measures. Won't spend a lot of time on this, but part of the portal, remember I said you can upload data, you can view your performance report, and then you can also select measures for CMS submission. No one is going to be doing this process right now, but the next time we have a webinar will be mid-February, and so I want to make sure everyone is aware that you will need to navigate to the CMS Submission tab, and you'll need to select any PQRS and non-PQRS measures you would like to submit to CMS, and then we're asking that you verify your exam rates. We use your number of exams to calculate a reporting rate, which is very important for CMS purposes, and so just be aware that I would say after January 31st, and that says 2016, my apologies, January 31st, 2017, Currently, the most recent data we have is Q3, and so we don't have a full year's worth of data at this time for you to select your measures. So I would not encourage anyone to start selecting their measures until we have all of your data accounted for the year. One important caveat to mention: when you are ready to use the CMS Submission tab, any values that you change under that CMS Submission tab, it will take at least 24 hours to refresh your performance report. So if you change your number of exams, please know that that is going to affect your performance report. These two tabs are interrelated. And again, apologies that you will start this process January 31st of 2017. This is just a screenshot of what it's going to look like. You're going to have each measure. You're going to have your provider's text ID information. If they have more than one text ID, it'll all appear in a separate form. And then you can see your exam counts, and you can decide if you want to select it for PQRS reporting or not. And tell us if you've given us 100% of your exams, which we encourage all people to do, all sites to do. If you give us 100%, just go ahead and check that so that we can go ahead and calculate a performance and reporting rate for your physicians. This slide is not new to anyone who has participated in our prior webinars, but it doesn't hurt to rehash some of the important things. PQRS measures must be submitted to the physician portal using our provided templates. We're asking that you account for any exams that were for the patients that were seen January 1, 2016 through December 31st of 2016. Verify your physician group 10 numbers are accurate. We definitely need your 10 numbers. And then the grid registry, and then we have a few specific tips for if you are using the grid registry measures, which is AC-RAD 15 through 20, you must submit exam level data for PQRS participation. If you are using the NMD and lung cancer screening registries, we rely on 2 years worth of data in order for you to get credit for those measures. So you do have to give us 2015 and 2016 data for those particular measures related just to those two registries, primarily because there's a 12-month follow-up that's required. And then for the dose index registry, we do require you to download Triad software and map your exam names and your CT scanners. And then I get the question all the time of how DIR measures are attributed to physicians. Essentially, your data is submitted at the facility level because we're collecting data automatically from your CT scanners, and then it's assigned to physicians, and then measures will be assigned to the physicians that reads for that particular facility. So I'll just say that again, for the DIR, you are submitting facility level data, and then we're going to assign measures to any physician that reads for that facility. And remember, just one point of reference, that you must submit data for 50% of all patients. That's Medicare and non-Medicare patients. So what do you need to do now? We've covered a lot of things, the different registries, how to navigate the portal, as well as making sure you're in compliance with the reporting requirements. Please verify that your physician's names and information is updated on all accounts. We ask you to also log into the physician portal so that you can upload PQRS data files and view any measures that have currently been assigned to your physicians. This late in the game, I think almost everyone should have at least a few measures that have been attributed to your physicians. If you don't see your physicians, something is wrong with how you enroll them. We're probably missing 10 information. There's a number of issues. You can always reach out to our team and we can help you troubleshoot. We ask you to verify exam counts in the physician portal and select measures for CMS submission. Remember, this process will not begin until after January 31st of 2017 because we need a full, complete year worth of data. And then what else did I want to mention here? And then verify that you are meeting the PQRS reporting requirements. If for any particular reason you have less than 9 measures or less than 3 domains, your physicians will not be successful. So please make sure that you are adhering to the PQRS reporting requirements. And then satisfy report each measure. This is not new to anyone on here. We know you guys are doing your best work, but CMS does indicate that each measure you report must have a performance rate greater than 0%, meaning some type of clinical action has to have happened on that patient for that measure. A 0% rate is acceptable for inverse measures. For inverse measures, a lower percentage indicates better clinical quality, so 0% would be ideal. And then lastly, in addition to the portal, everyone has been getting emails on how to access your QCDR feedback reports, which are displayed in your NRDR portal for the specific registry. So if you're in the Dose Index registry, you go to the Dose Index registry tab, and then there's a place for you to download your aggregate reports as well as a specific report just based on your QCDR measures and exam counts. This is just a reminder of the QCDR feedback report schedule. As I mentioned, Q3 is the most recent data that we have, and this is only accounting for exams that were submitted between July and September. So Q4 is where you will have, and we're planning to issue this in February. It may be slightly delayed with all of our help and support we're going to do for you all to get you ready for the CMS submission. That's where your October and December exam counts will really be accounted for. So that's why we don't want you going in and selecting measures that you submit 100% of your data if you haven't been able to view those measures. Lastly, for QCDR participation, it is a year-long process. We have webinars like this at least monthly. We also have an entire website dedicated to different resources. All of your measures, all of your templates, cost information is available at this URL, acr.org/QCDR. We do have documentation that outlines this entire process, what needs to happen, how to enroll your physicians, how to select exams, as well as all the timelines. So that's our QCDR participation checklist. And then lastly, we are wrapping up our QCDR series for 2016 PQRS reporting next month. Next month will be our last webinar. And then if anyone's missed any of our prior webinars and you're interested in presentation slides or recordings, they are available on our website. And we will start a new series to help. We're thinking about starting spring of 2017 to help you all use the QCDR so that you can meet the new quality payment program requirements. So that is forthcoming. We've gotten good feedback about the webinars that we're going to plan on continuing to do these more frequently throughout the year. And I think that's it. My name is Alicia. Several of you have my direct email. If I am not responsive, there is a team of us. You can contact nrdr@acr.org at any time. We do have a hotline as well. So you have a number of ways to communicate with us. Thank you for your time and attention. We have about 10 minutes for questions. Our staff is in the office. They've been answering you all while I have been speaking. But there's a number of us here, so if you have any specific data questions or IT-related questions, now's the time to go ahead and express those to us. And also, if you have any feedback, if you want to speak via the phone, please raise your hand and we can unmute you. That is an option as well if you don't feel like typing a long response.
So we've got two people with hands raised. One of them, Denise, I know you submitted some questions to us and we replied to those, so I don't know if you still have questions. Denise Lerner. So I'm going to unmute you. Just let us know if you've still got a question for us. You there, Denise? All right. Next, we've got Mark Canada. I'm going to unmute you real quick, Mark.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we can. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Alicia and Zach. Hey, I have a question about the dose index registry measures and the denominator that we would populate for that. Where would we find that information?
Could you repeat your question, please?
Yes, for the dose index registry measures, for example, AC-RAD 9, AC-RAD 11,
Yes.
Our performance report shows the number of reported, but then when we go to the physician portal, we have to say, okay, out of how many measures applicable, where would I find that information? Because all this is submitted from the hospital.
Mark, this is Judy. So you're asking for the reporting rate for the DIR measures? Is that what you're asking when we ask you to say the % of exams that you've submitted?
Correct. I just want to know where to get the number of relevant exams.
So using your best efforts to determine the % of exams that you've submitted to us based on what you've billed for those physicians.
Okay.
And this is Alicia, and then also I think next week, once we roll out the Enhanced Performance tab, you're going to be able to see registry level benchmarks for your group as well as for any. You'll see the reporting denominator as well as the means across everyone in your group. So that's another place where you can see that information. Currently, it's not available, as I was mentioning, for the performance report tab. Those measures don't have any values right now because they're calculated slightly different.
So if you have facilities, maybe this is your question, if you have facilities from which you're not submitting data to DIR, then is that the case?
Well, yes, we have two.
Okay, so then if you can determine the volume of CT exams that are interpreted at those facilities and use that to determine the total volume and subtract that, those that aren't submitting data, subtract that from what we are getting to get your actual reporting rate.
Okay, so we would just use the number, for example, if it was a CT of the head, we would just look at our total number of CTs of the head across the practice?
Yes, and then those that were submitted to DIR.
Yeah, so for CT head, you will see how many you have billed under that, for that TIN, if you are looking for the TIN in your billing system, and then look at our report in the PQRS portal report and look for AC-RAD 9 performance denominator that will give you the number of eligible exams, total number for head exams that we are going to report as the denominator and see how many. If you are,
what the difference is.
Yeah, for the head exams. And AC-RAD 14 actually gives you the total number of all the CT exams, and that's where we are evaluating whether you have given us 100% of exams or not. So I don't think that we are evaluating for each measure. For DIR, when we say whether you submitted 100% of your records or not, we are looking at AC-RAD 14. So you need to look at how many CT exams you did and look at our AC-RAD 14 number, total number of exams submitted, and subtract that. And that is what, if you submitted all the exams, then it is 100%.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because the number that's showing up in the numerator value looks awfully small, like nowhere close to the number of exams we performed.
Okay, so we can, if you can email us, we can take a look, particularly into your facility.
Yes.
And that will be good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Okay, we don't have any more hands right now, but we've got a few questions that we got in the chat here. One of them, Okay. This is from Laura. She asks, one of the slides indicated that all physicians need to register. We have all physicians under one account. Is this acceptable?
In order, registration for the portal, each physician, once you enroll them under managed physicians, they're given a username and a password, and then they need to log into the actual portal, and there'll be a few check boxes for them to select, just agreeing to use the QCDR to submit their CMS measures, and then they have to verify that their MPI and stuff is accurate, and then that completes the portal registration. So every physician does need to do that before you can upload any PQRS files for them or see any of their measures in the portal. One note for the group practices, I think for if you're a G-Pro, we are allowing the facility administrator to, we can work with your facility administrator to complete that registration if you have a large number of physicians. But you have to email nrdr@acr.org, and then we'll be able to assist you.
Thank you. Next question here comes from Cookie. She asks, I am signed up to report as a group, but you said the PQRS data has to be uploaded in the physician portal. So do I have to upload the data to each physician, or can I just choose a doctor and upload all the doctor's data?
Cookie, you would use the Excel template or the text file, and you would upload all your physicians in the same file. And then you would upload it to the portal under the tab Upload Data. So those Excel templates are the same for if you're a G-Pro or not. We allow you to have multiple physicians in one file.
Here's a question from Denise. She says, when uploading all data together, do you score each doctor and then score the facility as pass or fail, or is all data for all doctors evaluated as a whole as pass-fail?
Yes, sorry, I was reading another question. So, where's that question? If you're uploading all data together, do you score each doctor and then score facility as pass-fail? It's calculated at the group level. So for any physician in the 10 who you have submitted data for a certain measure, all that is will be calculated for each physician, but it's also calculated as a whole. So you will see the individual physicians, the facility admin will see the individual physician scores, and each physician can see their own score, and also the group score.
Next question. This is from Carrie. She asks, if we are submitting as a G-Pro, is the only responsibility for the physicians to log into the portal at some point in time? The registry administrator can take care of selecting measures and verifying the data?
Correct. For the G-Pros, as a facility administrator, you will be able to select measures and attest or sign off by February 19th of 2017. So you are doing the work for your physicians. If you are doing individual reporting, we do ask that the physician log in and attest to their measures. Primarily, this is a quality reporting program, and the physicians are being held accountable, so CMS requires it. We have active accounts on all physicians, whether you're a G-Pro or not.
Right now, we've only got one question left, and that is from Stacy. She says, we had a physician retire in August 2016. Are we required to report PQRS for this physician?
No.
You can leave them out because there's a 2-year reporting time lag between you reporting and your payment adjustments, and that doctor will not be part of your 10 and 2018 based on 2016 reporting. Right at the top.
Yeah, one more question that just came in from Nicole. She says, for the LCSR, does it have to be a complete 2 years if we started collecting data in September 2015?
No, it doesn't have to be complete, but you might have just such a small volume of data that the measures aren't calculated. So there has to be that 12-month follow-up period. If you had follow-up for patients in September 2016 through December 16, there may be some data there, but it might not be enough to really give you a score.
So I've got 2 more questions here related to the retiring physician. One question is, what will happen to that physician's quality scores?
Is that the retiring physician that's being referred to?
I believe so. The one retiring, or who retired in August. I believe this is hypothetical. It came from a different person, but...
or left. What will happen to them? What will happen to that physician's quality scores? It just fade away.
Like you never.
Okay.
I mean, the practice would have it, but if they're submitted to CMS through another mechanism like claims, if the physician is retired and they're no longer a Medicare provider, there's not really anything that CMS can do with them.
Okay. And another question, what if that physician was set to retire March 2017? Do they still need to report them?
Yes. Oh, wait, let's see. So, I would, just to be safe. I mean, technically no, because in 2018 they're no longer in the practice. Their NPI is not available. So it shouldn't matter, but I would just report it.
Okay. We do still have a few questions coming in. We'll probably only have time to get to a couple more, but this one comes from Denise. She says, is there a minimum number of reads to submit for the physician? I have a doctor that only read 15 exams.
So there's a minimum case count for use of a measure in the volume modifier of 20 cases. And in the claims-based reporting and qualified registry reporting, there's in the MAP process, there's the 15 case minimum if where a measure isn't required to, a physician wouldn't be held accountable for the measure if there's less than 15 cases. But you can get credit for it using the QCDR if they've only read 15 exams. And so you could report it.
Okay. We have another question, again, about uploading data for GPRO. So last year we uploaded data for each physician. This year we were reporting GPRO. How do we upload the data for GPRO in the physician's portal? Could you?
It's the same template. It's just the same Excel. You're just going to have more than one physician in that file. We've sent out email communication to all facility administrators. That's like our go-to, clarifying that GPROs will use the same templates as everyone else. The only difference is you're just not going to have one NPI in that file. You're going to have multiple. So please, if you have not started it, please do that as soon as possible. So we're over time. So if you have any more questions, feel free to email nrdr@acr.org. Our next call will be February 13th. Between that time, January 31st and mid-February, we're going to be sending all facilities a snapshot of how many measures you've given us, how many domains, so that you can know where you stand as far as reporting rates and number of measures to meet the PQRS reporting requirements. We're going to be doing that for everyone that's participating in the QCDR. So please, if you can, give us as much data by January 31st as possible, and then we will do our due diligence to give you accurate feedback to help you select your final measures. And then just one more note, if you are G-Pro, please make sure that during your registration process with CMS that you did indicate that you are going to use a qualified clinical data registry. Because if you picked another registry option, then none of your exams will be accepted by CMS. So I've been helping a few sites, they did not pick the right registry for their reporting, and so they won't be able to use the QCDR, so just keep that in mind. I think that's it.